Thinking about enrolling her in kindergarten next year, and probably public kindergarten, super academic, like inside pretty much all the time. Maybe if you're lucky you get a recess. I think I'm just like really conscious of that in these years that she can spend a lot of time outside and gain like an appreciation for it, so that when she does go to kindergarten, I think she'll have that like sense in her body, you know, that she knows like, okay, when I go outside I feel better, I get exercise, I get fresh air, you know, I can use my imagination.
What we do at the nature preschool is we say, let's go on a hike and see what's interesting. Whatever we have in nature, children are interested in because it's around them. It's how they explore, it's how they learn, is their direct environment. And so if you create their direct environment to be completely immersed in the natural world, then you're never fighting for their attention. I think that this is the first generation that hasn't been out exploring in their own neighborhoods as much as previous generations. So most of us that are older had opportunities to engage in the natural world and to head off into the woods for a few hours, practice balancing, collect acorns, collect leaves, challenge ourselves. This generation isn't. This generation is spending a lot of time indoors. They're spending a lot of time plugged in, which is not how our bodies are created to best experience the world. We are sensory animals. We want to smell things and hear things and touch things. Kids need to jump up and down to feel that this is hard or this is soft. They really need to use their whole bodies.
When you look around the playground, you know, you can see like the huts they've made out of sticks and, you know, like the gardens that they've made, and there's just like a lot of ability to imagine, you know, outside.
Jake often comes home covered from head to toe, and his boots are full of sand. He loves the sandbox. But I think that's the beauty of childhood, is that those things don't matter. There's plenty of time when you're an adult where you have to dress up and be clean. Why not give them that when they have the chance?
Natural classroom. We offer experiences and activities seen in a typical preschool classroom, but with nature at hand, there are endless teachable moments where children have lots of hands-on experiences and exploration.
Anyone remember what that is?
A roly-poly.
Roly-poly.
Nice work,
Jeannie. You got your J and your A.
No, Dad needs to do the N, the I, and E.
Let's see it.
I only need to give free Morello.
They're not only gaining kindergarten readiness skills, but they are developing life skills that will prepare them for the future. Our mission is to create a culturally responsible environment, and we do that by providing high-quality, affordable preschool education for students of all backgrounds.
I'm too big. Face that. It's not good.
It's been fantastic. It's amazing to have my son in a great outdoor school, constantly just having fun, you know, spending the whole day just out adventuring. It's fantastic.
What's been the most surprising thing from this experience?
His ability to adapt to all the different, you know, the weather doesn't matter to him, you know. As long as he's got his rain suit or his snow suit, he is just happy and ready to go. You know?
Every day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be some days where he didn't want to go, and no matter what, every day he's like, I want to go. If I say we're not going, he starts crying.
What's been your impression for the first half of our first year?
I would say that I've been pleasantly surprised with how well he has adapted to the elements. It's been a really nice community here, and you know, last year at this time I remember going to the playground and stuff, and he would climb a little bit but not like get really high up on things and be very cautious and stuff, which, you know, I'm glad that he was doing. But now his confidence is, you know, much higher, and he wants to climb everything.
I think the most surprising thing to me is I'm not surprised by it. Our son is doing fantastic in it. He loves it. We pick him up every day. We ask him his favorite part, and he says everything, right? So we're now in the middle of winter, and he's not missed a day to weather, to for anything, right? It's just so it's really a great situation for our family.
It's been fun for me to see as a parent how finding the right preschool match for your child is really important. He was doing fine at his old preschool, but I really think he's thriving here. And every single night he goes to bed without trouble at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
The world's first forest kindergartens were founded in Scandinavia. They're also popular in Germany, Austria and Switzerland. One of the main reasons Nadia and Paul have sent both Nicola and her 6-year-old sister Jessica to a forest kindergarten is their fear that the virtual world is distracting the girls from the natural one.
As soon as they come home, all they want to do is play the iPad. That's what they want to do. Well, you know, that worries us that they'll do that. So we try to encourage them to go outside and play more.
This is Jessica's primary school. I've come here because I thought the teachers might be concerned at how kids from a forest kindergarten struggle to adapt in the classroom.
Do you notice any difference between her and the kids who've come from normal kindergartens?
Not at all. They are all prepared to go to school. My own son went to forest kindergarten.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you never had any worries about how he would go at school with
No,
our children?
not at all.
You have to learn them to be interested in learning.
Over the last 20 years, the number of outdoor kindergartens in Denmark has roughly doubled. And now the forest gospel is spreading. Even schools are looking to take the class outdoors.
Now there's a lot of research been done that shows that children are less stressed, that children concentrate more, that children are ill less often, that their motor development is far, far better for being outdoors than indoors.
And a lot of teachers is, getting, yes, I can, oh, it works. So I'm happy.
Our society is raising a generation of children that don't know how to play outside. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to roll in the grass or dig for worms or jump in a puddle. They don't know what to do outside because they're constantly plugged into iPads and smartphones and computers and laptops. And research is showing us there's a huge deficit in brain development. So to answer that challenge, nature classrooms are springing up all over the United States. And it was an important core value of our program here that we find a way to reconnect children and their families with the natural world.
Outdoor nature classrooms for young children have many, many benefits. One of the things that it's very good for is really academic progress. And I say that one first, not because it's the most important, but because academic progress is something that many people are concerned about. And we know that children who have outdoor experiences, we can actually document the achievement development of those children in the area of social science, reading and writing and science. All of those areas of achievement are better when children have nature experiences. We also know that children are more enthusiastic about learning. So enthusiasm and engagement when they have natural outdoor experiences is much higher, which ties into the academic learning also, because they see the reason to learn those academic skills and to practice those academic skills when they're out studying things in nature. We also know that children who have outdoor experiences do better in terms of executive function. So in terms of executive function, we're talking about creativity, We're talking about problem solving, and we're talking about the ability of the individual to focus and to pay attention to what they're doing. So we know attentional skills, which are executive function skills, those are much better for children who have outdoor experiences on a daily basis. Children who have time outside are much more focused inside. They are able to develop impulse control, and they are able to stay with activities and complete activities. So you have fewer behavioral incidents with children who have outdoor time where they're really engaged with nature, and you also have fewer impulse issues. One of the questions that teachers often ask is, what is the effect of nature on children who have specific attentional problems? I have had teachers tell me that they don't want to take the children outside because it winds them up, because it's too stimulating for them. In reality, the research shows the opposite. Children with ADHD who have experiences outdoors actually have reduced symptoms. They're much more able to concentrate. They can focus for longer periods of time when they are in the classroom. Well, one of the things I think we have to understand is when we're talking about ADHD or ADD or many of the other challenges that we have with children, it's an issue of what's going on within the brain. And what happens with the brain is when we are stressed, we have a hormone called cortisol, which affects the thinking of the brain. High levels of cortisol occur when you are under stress. And when you have children who are outdoors, cortisol levels actually drop. So it has become recognized that nature experiences are medically a way to deal with some of these more challenging situations that children are facing. In fact, the effect of nature has been so great in terms of those social emotional skills and in terms of the reduce of cortisol that some people call that nature's pharmacy. One of the things to understand is that all children benefit socially and emotionally from being outside. And one of the factors that we know is that it develops resiliency in children. When I talk about resilient, I talk about bouncing back, the ability to handle adverse consequences, and then to be able to live with those and move on, to be really upset and calm yourself down. Those things are much more possible to do that when you have had nature experiences. They are more able to handle their own problems. They're more able to bounce back from adversive consequences. Another advantage of connecting with nature is the child's development and understanding of how things affect other living things. And when you understand that, then you can also develop a better understanding how what you do affects other people. So rather than it all being about them and their interactions, it enables them to look at how one thing interacts with another and to develop empathy for that. Let's talk a little bit more about the physical effects of being in nature. One of the things I want to focus on, and this is rather alarming actually, is the effect on children's vision. We know that experiences in nature actually shape the brain and how the brain processes, but it also shapes the eyes. So we now know that children who are spending extensive amounts of time indoors are not developing far vision. So what has happened is we have this great increase in myopia in this country. Often parents are afraid of children getting dirty. Often they're afraid of mud. Often they're afraid of real objects like real bugs. They're afraid of those things. And one of the reasons is they want their children to be healthy and be happy. But what we now know is that children who dig in the dirt, children who are out there in the woods, children who are exposed to things such as poison ivy and get over it and other kinds of things like that, that those children, in fact, develop immunity. And their body learns how to handle those experiences. We have, I think, in many ways, gone overboard in protecting our children. For example, at our UPC Discovery, a Nature Explorer classroom, we have some very large pieces of wood and very large pieces of rock, okay? And people will say, well, aren't you afraid that those children will lift that rock and drop it on their toes or something? Okay. So my response to that is, children need to have those experiences to learn what they can lift and what they can't lift. They have to be able to climb on things for position in space. They have to be able to move things that are bigger than them. And in the process of doing that, they learn what is safe to do and what is not safe to do. When we first started the Nature Explorer classroom in another school I was working with, I remember the children, when we first went outside, children walking in the woods like this. And they were afraid to touch anything. They were afraid to be out there. After a little time in the Nature Explorer classroom, yes, this became okay. So the building of this courage in children to try something that's hard, to use your body in different ways. It's an important competence that children have. And the more competence children develop, the better they feel about themselves, the better their self-image is. Self-esteem is developed when children build competence and they learn that they can do things well and they can challenge something and be successful at it. And that happens outside. I like to talk about Kellert's framework of looking at nature experiences. And if you look at this, you can see that he has 3 different categories. The first category is what he calls vicarious experiences. Vicarious experiences are really just learning about nature. So we have such things as books, we have videos, we have all kinds of things that we bring nature in. So the next category he talks about are indirect experiences. Indirect experiences are those experiences that are prepared in prepared spaces for children to experience nature, that would have maybe wood climbing structures, okay, instead of, the completely man-made. And it would be also like going to a park is a good example of an indirect experience. And then you have what are called direct contact experiences. And we know that direct contact experiences, they're unstructured. In other words, we don't have a plan exactly what the children are going to do. It's imaginative. Children can make anything they want out of that log. It is totally up to the child to do. And it's also exploratory play. Can I pick this rock up? No, it's too heavy. What can I do if I want to move this? What can I move here to make this structure taller? So that's what we call exploratory play. That happens in actual direct experiences. I think a good example of the effectiveness of the Keller continua and why it's important to be further to the right and not do just vicarious experiences is in this series of paintings. So I'd like you to look at this painting and tell yourself, what is this a painting of? This painting is a painting of a bumblebee, and it was done by 4-year-old Maddie. And when Maddie did this painting, they had gone on a regular field trip and they had seen some bees. And when they came back, they talked about, not about the field trip, but the fact that they had seen these bees. And the teacher, in response to that, got out some books that had pictures of bees in it. And they looked at the pictures of the bees and they talked about it. And she read some things from that. So she was very responsive to that. And then Maddie went over to the easel and she took the paint and she painted this picture of the bumblebee. Later on, Maddie painted this picture of the bumblebee. How long do you think it was between the first painting of the bumblebee and the second painting of the bumblebee? The answer is 45 minutes. This is the same child, the same art materials. This is no instruction at all in painting or drawing. But one thing happened. The children went outside. They were in their outside playtime. This was after Maddie had painted the first painting. They went outside and they saw a bee. And the teacher caught the bee in a cup, in a glass cup, and brought it in, and they looked at the bee, the real bee, and they watched it. And then Maddie spontaneously went to the easel and painted painting number 2. You can see here the effect of direct contact with nature. So I think that teaches us very clearly how you can only get so much information from books, so much information from processing what other people have learned. But when you see it with your own eyes, not only do you learn a lot more, but you are motivated to represent it.